Harden or Westbrook, who has more to prove?
I think it's Westbrook. I'm not talking about today's game. I'm talking about period. Westbrook's a former league MVP. Obviously, those are the two back-to-back. Those are the two back-to-back MVPs. Russell Westbrook a couple of seasons ago, James Harden last year. Both very deserving. Russell Westbrook is on the verge of averaging a triple-double for the third consecutive year. It's unreal.
Come on.
Say it again.
Unreal. Averaging 20, 10, and 10. Paul George is playing like a superstar, in case anybody's missed it. He's averaging 26 a game, okay? Paul George is flat out balling, 45% shooting, nearly 39% from three-point range. It is something special to behold what we're seeing from Paul George right now. And that is exactly why more pressure is on Russell Westbrook. Because how many players do you need before you ultimately capture a championship yourself? You had James Harden years ago with Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, and those guys, but all of y'all were 21 and under, 22 and under, so we understand you were young. But then you had Kevin Durant and Serge Ibaka. Couldn't get that done. Then you had Paul George with Carmelo Anthony. That didn't work out. Now you have Paul George playing like a superstar. You got 5 guys averaging in double figures. You got Dennis Schroeder from Atlanta as your backup point guard, just flat out balling. Flat out balling, averaging 16 a game coming off the bench for you, all right? And you got some young thoroughbreds that are able to come in there. And Steven Adams averaging 16 and 10. He's averaging a double-double. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is that you have depth, you have athleticism, and you have another star playing with you on that star-studded level. You're the 4th-ranked defense in the National Basketball Association. I'm looking at Russell Westbrook, knowing the mercurial superstar that he is, and I'm saying ain't too many people in NBA history that have been as blessed as you are to have the quality of teammates that he has had. At some point in time, if he don't win, they're going to start talking about him like they did a couple of years ago when they said it's not Kevin Durant left because of you. He could put an end to all of that.
This is a great question because they both have a lot to prove along the lines that you're discussing. But speaking of Paul George, if you look at players who can be described as threes in the NBA, Paul George, who's playing better than he's ever played, and that's saying a lot because he's an excellent player, is the 5th best guy at his position. Because you can call LeBron a 3, KD a 3, Kawhi a 3, the Greek Freak a 3. You can call them all 3s. That puts Paul George is not as, let me just be very clear about this. He's excellent. He is in that category, kind of. All 4 of those guys are better than Paul George at basketball. It's the way it is. But Paul George
on both ends?
Yeah. Okay. Those guys are, like Paul George, more consistent defender than LeBron now, but you'd rather have LeBron than Paul George, obviously. But Paul George is great. He's a great player. Westbrook's already had KD and couldn't get it done. Is Paul George as good as KD? No. KD's better than Paul George. They're similar in certain ways. KD's better. So you already know he needs a little more than he had, and he has a little less now. I will tell you, they ain't going to win the championship this year, barring some catastrophic injury on other teams. Knock wood, that doesn't happen. Now look at James Harden. James Harden, who plays at an MVP caliber, who during the regular season, you could argue that's the most valuable player in basketball. He is now without Chris Paul oftentimes. Yeah. And last year, won 65 games. I thought should have won the whole thing. I thought they were the best. What happened when Chris Paul went down? No one could hit a shot, including James Harden. Harden is going to go down in history as one of the greatest chokers who ever lived if he doesn't prove it in the postseason. So during the regular season, what I'm saying in totality this year, there's more pressure on Harden to not choke, just be the guy you normally are in the playoffs, or he is going to get, like the way we talk about Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning at least won 2 Super Bowls. But we think about Peyton Manning's underachieving under pressure. There are guys like that. Where has there been a drop-off from regular season to playoffs like Harden?
Listen, when I look about Harden, I didn't think Harden choked in last year's playoffs. There was a couple of times in the postseason. He played better. He played better defensively. He dropped 32 in Game 7. Only shot 2 of 13 from three-point range. So I get it. 2 of 13 from three-point. Wasn't 0 for 12 like Trevor Ariza. But it was 2 of 13. Let me finish 2 of 13 from three-point range. But he was hitting the 2-point shots. Finished with 32 points. You're going up against the Golden State Warriors. He wasn't himself, meaning that he didn't play up to his level.
As usual.
But again, I've seen him worse is my point. I've seen him worse.
He's trending in the right direction. direction.
was
I
so
agree.
low.
Last
At the
year,
two
that wasn't the
threes.
case. I'm not going to hold him. I'm not going to hold him accountable for last year like
I
that.
am.
What I would tell you is this: I'm not expecting anything from James Harden and the Houston Rockets if CP3 ain't healthy.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at Westbrook and
but let's
Paul
say
George,
CP3
and with the pieces that Sam Presti has put together. And you look at them; they're top in the Western Conference for a reason.
Man,
Fellas,
I
we're out
want to
of
bring
time.
something
All right,
up.
last word.
Big games like, I don't know, a Game 7 at home against the best team in basketball, defending champions at home, missing your second best player. Great players don't shoot or they sometimes do, but not who have never achieved under pressure.
I once saw a great player score 8 points in a game.
Hold on. But Harden has never had the big moment when he needed it the most. So you say 2 for 13 from 3, right? Go 5 from 13 from 3. You're in overtime.
Okay,
Go 6 for 13. You win the series.
He needs to show up in the playoffs. Rockets are 1-5 without
You don't
Chris
know that.
Paul this season.